Okay, so first of all, thank you very much for joining us and bearing with us with the slight technical problems. Welcome to the Find Your Business Purpose Masterclass. This is the second in a series of masterclasses that we're putting on as the Business for Good program. And as you'd expect, this is all about purpose and why it's important and what we mean by purpose in business and how you might actually start the process of unearthing your own purpose. So we've got quite a lot to cover in the next hour. So, there we go. So the agenda is going to look like this with quick introductions, which I think we've done while we've been waiting. A bit on why purpose and why that's important now. A couple of examples of purpose in action. And then we'll get on to the thought of, well, how might we articulate our purpose and start sharing it with others. And a little bit on what are the problems with purpose? What's your inner cynic saying? So we'll have a bit of a chat about that, and then also putting purpose into practice. A bit of a checklist on practical things you might do to get that to get purpose embedded in your business. So we'll kick off with some introductions. So we've obviously just met. If you wouldn't mind actually just putting in the chat, if you're able to do that, just put your name and your organization in the chat function, and just maybe some of the things that you're looking to get out of either this session on purpose or the Business for Good program in general. That'd be great. We'll capture those at the end. And while you're doing that, I'll just introduce us. So Everyone's Edinburgh is a newly formed charity. It was sort of in formulation for 2 years, but actually got incorporated as a charity earlier this year. And essentially, it's a group of individuals from smaller businesses, bigger businesses in Edinburgh, Edinburgh City Council, Chamber of Commerce, Edinburgh Napier University, all sorts of third sector organisations too, who basically come together in an effort to try and make Edinburgh a sort of more sustainable and fairer city. And so that organisation is an ongoing movement and exploring different ways of working together across the city to make things a bit better for everybody. And the Business for Good program is really the first big initiative to come from the Everyone's Edinburgh charity. And our role is to try and help businesses play their part in making Edinburgh that more sustainable and fairer city. And we're doing that through various masterclasses like this. We've got training courses. There's an online toolkit. And there's myself, Jane, and Pam, who are impact advisors who are available to help businesses to talk about how they could go about making their business a bit more purpose driven and impact aware. And so that's what we're here to do, and Pam and Jane are on the call as well today. So the purpose of this particular masterclass is just about purpose, and our starting point, I guess, is, well, what do we mean about when we talk about purpose? So if I asked you to, close your eyes and just think about a purpose-driven business, what sort of things come to mind? What sort of images come to mind? What sort of business would you think about when you think about a purpose-driven business? So just think about that for a moment, and then actually, open your eyes again. So you may have thought about businesses like this. So you may have thought of someone like the Body Shop, who was probably one of the first businesses to think about other things other than just money and making money. It started to think about the environment and its ethics and being more responsible as a business. So that sort of Body Shop might have come to mind. You may have thought about a brand like Innocent Drinks, who do the big woolly hats promotion every year to promote the sort of elderly causes, and giving something back to that particular cause. Or closer to home in Edinburgh, you may have thought about Social Bite, a social enterprise that is raising awareness and raising money to help the homeless issue. So you may sort of thought of those sorts of brands or businesses, or you may have thought of maybe more bigger businesses. So in recent years, people like RBS, what was the Royal Bank of Scotland, located here in Edinburgh, has changed its name. It's now part of it's now the NatWest Group, and it's now a purpose-led operation. And the CEO there, Alison Rose, is talking about purpose and guided by a purpose. And Unilever, another big PLC, has taken a purpose-led approach over the last 10 years through its sustainable living plan, And so a lot of these bigger businesses are embracing, taking purpose almost like a corporate social responsibility to a new level and putting it at the heart of their business. So I guess the first thing we wanted to do was just, is just open up that discussion. And Pam, actually, do you want to lead that?
Yeah, so welcome everyone. I am very keen to sort of understand what purpose actually is, and many people are. And one of the key things is about the fact that it's multifaceted. You have lots of answers when you ask people what they believe purpose actually is. And it means very different things. Often it's about why you exist. Sometimes it's about being a sense of focus, the North Star or the compass. Often companies feel it's something to do with supporting their reputation and being seen to be doing good, and being authentic about that as well, ideally. Also something about being inspiring and putting people and planet possibly before profit. So it's a multifaceted thing, and there's no fixed definition. And we're not here to tell you what it is or isn't, although we do have some views on that. But it would be good to sort of understand from you what you see purpose as a concept. If anyone wants to put anything in chat or come off mute and just give us an idea of what you think purpose means to you, or what you've seen in other organizations, and feel that's something that you would aspire to be thinking about.
Well, I'll go from my perspective. As I say, I think I've said in the chat, it's about being fair and equitable in everything we do, and recognizing that you do have to make a profit, because that's what we're all here. As I say, it's getting that balance, isn't it, in terms of doing everything fairly and equitably, and actually still making a profit so the business survives.
Yeah. And is it something that you've thought about for your business, Catherine?
It is. I'm because we're in construction, I'm really keen to promote, and certainly, the race to zero, what we can do to support the climate change agenda. But in terms of our business, because we are an SME, we kind of have to, I'm trying to look at it in terms of our internally, how we treat our team members, and what you would expect, and what is fair for them. And then also getting the balance with looking out to our clients, and actually what is the expectation now as a professional consultancy on how we should support our clients to be doing things with purpose, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it is.
But I'm very much struggling with, because it's such a big topic. And when I start looking at it, there's a limited thing in our business of 16 people. We pay we pay way in excess of the minimum wage and the living wage. So we get ticks naturally as a business because of almost what we do, and because we're so small. So that's kind of how I struggle with this. When you look at sort of B Corps, innocent, etc. So that's kind of what, as I say, it's trying to get the balance of how I can do it without putting words on a page. I don't. Sorry, I'm waffling now.
No, it's good. It's brilliant. It's really good to hear. But it's interesting you've mentioned B Corps as well, and you're aware of B Corps. So Jane and I are actually B leaders, and so we help businesses through that B Corp process. And actually, all the businesses I've helped are smaller than yours. So maybe it's something to have a conversation with later. Benjamin, have you got any thoughts on sort of purpose, what it means to you?
Yeah, I mean, without adding a religious dimension, I'd say it's about a higher value. And so that instead of just being about subsistence and sort of surviving, it's actually about doing something for a reason. In travel and tourism, there is now this concept of purpose-led travel. People are traveling not just to have sun and sand, but because they're going through the hassle of all the COVID travel restrictions, because it's much more conscious. And why are they doing it? Are they actually going to bring benefits to the communities that they're visiting? And it's much more deliberate and purposeful. And I think, I mean, for me, purpose is about doing something more than just paying the bills at the end of the month. It's actually trying to do something for whether your soul or the universe or the planet or whatever. But it's something beyond your just mere existence.
Mm. Yeah, brilliant.
Great, thank you. I'm just going to welcome Rarahata and welcome to the group. We were just discussing what purpose means to people, so welcome. We won't put you on the spot and ask you, but if you have some thoughts, do pop it into chat. So Simon, do you want to take the next bit around pulling this together and moving us into the next section?
Exactly. Yeah. So thanks for your comments there. So in terms of our view, and it's just our view of what purpose means to us, I think we cheat slightly and bring two other words into the equation, which is impact and growth. And so when we talk about purpose, the definition that we've picked up here is it's a business that produces a profitable solution to the problems of people and planet. So they go, this is what we're here to do. We make money, as you were saying, Catherine, we do make money, but actually what we're doing over and above that is trying to solve a problem that the people are facing and the planet's facing at the moment. And that gives us a sense of meaning, you were saying, Benjamin, a sense of a direction, and a sense of clarity and focus about what we're doing and the problems we're trying to solve. And that's the sort of the heart of a purpose-driven business is has a purpose that solving a problem. But aligned to that is its impact. So it's not just about delivering impact for its customers, but also a business that doesn't profit from producing more problems for people and planet. So they're aware of, while they're delivering their purpose, that they're not just impacting the customers, but they're minimizing the negative impact they're having on other stakeholders like employees. You mentioned, Catherine, about living fair wage and or the environment or the communities or the supply chain. So really aware of the impact for all stakeholders, as well as that primary customer purpose impact. And in doing so, they help business, they grow. But again, in here, we're looking at maybe a broader definition of growth, which isn't just about financial growth, but personal growth, that sense of meaning and fulfillment that we get by doing something and giving something back, growing the business other than financially. So in terms of the impact that we have on others, creating better social value and increasing the well-being for everyone involved. So that's the sort of definition that we would give. And these are the pillars: the purpose, impact, and growth is the focus that we're trying to deliver through the well-being program and all the activities that we have. But why is this important? We're talking about purpose and defining it and what it might mean, but why is it important, and why is it now? And I won't dwell on this too much, because I think people on the call probably know this, but the world is facing some pretty stiff challenges, through overproduction and the impact that's having on the resources that we're using, and all the loss of biodiversity, loss of wildlife, 60% of decrease in wildlife population since the 70s, because we're producing and taking more of nature to produce those things and make those things. We're consuming more and more to feed this sort of capitalist system, creating lots of waste. So 12.7 million tons of plastic every year going into the oceans, which we can't deal with, the planet can't deal with, we're not able to deal with, creating problems for us. And the result of all that is a wealth distribution which just isn't fair. So 26 people on Earth now earn the same as our net worth of the bottom 3.8 billion, which just doesn't seem. It seems crazy when you see that we're producing all this stuff, consuming all this stuff, and naturally the gains are going to just so few people. And so there's some really big global problems, and obviously we mentioned earlier about the net zero issue and climate crisis, and that's something that's going to hit us, hit everybody around the world, but here in Edinburgh particularly so, because the local government council have got a target of net zero by 2030, and that's going to mean a lot of change for everybody, for businesses, for for us as business leaders, workers, employees, citizens, you know, it's going to be massive change, and doing that transition in a fair way, in an equitable way is going to be a real challenge for us. But I guess one of the things about purpose, and why we're sort of talking about purpose here, is not just to think of it all in doom and gloom, because yes, there is a responsibility. We do have a responsibility to, you know, deliver our businesses and make profits in a responsible way, in a way that doesn't have a negative impact on others. But there is also, you know, a massive opportunity by doing this, by taking an approach which is more centered around a sense of purpose, because all the evidence is showing that the businesses that have been doing that and continue to do that and are committed to that reap the benefits. They reap the benefits financially, they grow financially, but actually they attract more talent. The people that work there are more engaged. The customers are more loyal. The customers are more willing to pay more for the products and services, and they generate a sense of a reputation that takes them forward and makes them, you know, encourages them to have a bigger impact. So it's not all doom and gloom. We do face a lot of problems. We do have to have the responsibility, but there is a huge opportunity for us as well to make a big difference while we're making money. And so what does that look like in purpose? So if these businesses are being successful by putting purpose at the heart of what they're doing, what does that look like in practice? So we mentioned things like Social Bite and Innocent and Body Shop, those sorts of very sort of purpose-driven brands. But I wanted to actually bring a couple of case studies today, which were maybe not expected, so unexpected sources of purpose, and just to demonstrate that purpose, impact, and growth principles. And around two product categories. One is mayonnaise, and one is tights, ladies' tights. And so you think, well, if I can build a purpose-led business around mayonnaise and ladies' tights, then I could build a purpose-led business around everything. So I thought this was quite two interesting case studies to look at. So the first is Hellmann's. So Hellmann's mayonnaise, you're probably aware of as quite a big brand. Now, Hellmann's is part of Unilever, and Unilever have made a commitment to being a purpose-led business, and have done through the last over 10 years, which is moving, you know, a big range of consumer-led brands in a more purposeful, driven direction, being aware of their impact and growing in that direction. And the way they do that is by aligning their brands around a core problem. And so we mentioned about a purpose-led business being able to be profitable by solving a problem. And the problem that Hellmann's are aligning themselves against is food waste. So the thing that they've noticed or have latched onto is that the equivalent of 1 in every 6 bags of food bought ends up being thrown, and 70% of all food waste in the UK is coming from households. So they've gone, right, that's a problem that's affecting society. What could we do to help alleviate that? And so they've landed on their purpose, which is make taste, not waste. And it's around saying, well, our product can help you make the best of all those leftover bits of food in the fridge that you may consider throwing out because they're past their sell-by date or just nearing the sell-by date, don't know what to do with them. We'll inspire you to do something with it that makes it something tasty that you don't throw away. And they've been, you know, invested in programs with Prue Leith. They've created recipe books to inspire people to use their products in a way that solves a problem. So that's, you know, again, so it's a really good way, a good example of a purpose that's helping solve a problem as well as selling products. And in doing so, they're very aware of their impact. So their core purpose is helping food waste, but also what they're aware is the impact they're having for other stakeholders. So, you know, in this instance, we're just highlighting the recycled bottles that they use. So 100% recycled bottles, reducing the plastic waste, and I know from a brand point of view, they're doing other bits and pieces as well. So again, an example of the impact, and that delivers some sense of growth. And yes, you know, Unilever are benefiting financially from this move to purpose-driven growth. So they're what they call the sustainable living brands. They grew 69% faster than the rest of the business, and now deliver 75% of their turnover. And that's a trend that's continuing and has continued for a while. You know, they are benefiting from a financial point of view from doing this, but by doing this, they're also benefiting the other stakeholders by reducing their greenhouse gases, by reducing the plastic that's not being recycled, and investing in a diverse range of underrepresented groups to make sure that there's some sort of equality to what they're doing from a financial point of view. So a little bit of an example of purpose, impact and growth from Unilever. And closer to home is a brand you may be aware of called Snag Tights. So based over in Livingston. So Bree, who's the MD over there and the founder, she identified the problem, which was that from tights wearers, people can't find tights that actually fit, and they've committed to making all their products in at least size 4 to 36, because they believe all sizes clothes should be available in all sizes. So they've latched onto a problem about, from a social point of view, is that you can't find clothes that fits if you're of a certain size. And so their purpose is, we're here to make clothes for everyone, with a focus on the larger sizes, and fulfilling a problem that people face in society. And in delivering that purpose, they're very aware of their impact, and they've got quite a lot of things in this sentence, in this paragraph. But the carbon neutral, recycled water, looking at vegan dyes, supply chain, help working with charities. So lots of things that they're doing in delivering their purpose, which is aware of their impact or minimizing the negative impact they have for other stakeholders. And again, they're reaping the benefits from a profit point of view. So they were 40 million last year, forecast to rise to 40 million, and got goals for being $1 billion brand, which would be amazing if they can do that, out of Livingston. But as they delivered that, there's growth for their workers, they're a living wage like you, Catherine, and their customers love what they do. So, 66,000 reviews on Trustpilot, 4.8% out of 5. So some really good work and good examples of businesses that are taking a purpose-driven approach, but aware of their impact and helping benefit other stakeholders as they go on their way. So there's a couple of examples there. I'm going to hand over to Pam now, who's going to talk to you about unearthing and articulating your purpose.
Great, thanks, Simon. I think you've highlighted some great examples there, particularly because it was Stop Food Waste Day yesterday. In fact, I thought that was very topical.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Highlighting Hellmann's. So what we're going to do is just run through a model now. You don't need to take notes if you don't want to, because we're recording the session, as Simon said earlier. So this is really just a little bit of a taster in terms of how you could unearth or articulate your purpose, or refine what you might already have. This is a bit of a taster. We go into a lot of this detail in what we call the impact training that we'll be running in September, and we'll be exploring this topic and the whole impact journey in a much more detail. So if this gives you a flavour of it, do ask us more at the end of the session, and we'll share some details on that. So looking at the framework, we've got a very interesting concentric circles here. We would argue that the starting point for any purpose is to create a purpose statement. And it's not essential, but we find that businesses that spend time unearthing or writing down or articulating their purpose have a much clearer idea of what they're trying to achieve. It gives them real focus, and it helps bring everyone else on board, from employees to customers, suppliers, and beyond. And there's lots of different ways of expressing that, and there's no right or wrong. But what we're going to do is propose a model that builds on what some of you may have heard of Simon Sinek and his golden circle, and heard him on TED Talks. We're going to build on his model for the what, the how and the why, but we've added in the who, because we feel stakeholders are extremely important to identify in this process. So if we start to look at the who, the first task is to define who you're serving. We've highlighted who we impact. Simon's talked about customers, employees, the community, and the environment, but looking at all our stakeholders. And in terms of purpose, it's about focusing on our key stakeholders first. And we've highlighted customer as a sort of key starting point. They're the who that pays you the money. to provide them with something. They're the who we're solving potentially a problem for. Simon highlighted snag tights as a great example of that. And it's who are our customers and who's key to our success as well. So if you're doing this for your business, we would suggest that you start by writing a few sentences about your customer, describe who they are, what's going on in their lives, what challenges they're facing, and how could your business help them solve a problem. And we've highlighted the example of Hellman's as well, and the idea that the customer has a potential problem that Hellman's can solve. So just looking at that through a customer lens, but also you can look at that through your employees, your suppliers, your partners, the community, and so on. But we suggest very much starting with the customer. So that's the who. Now the what. So it's not just about trying to save the world, but it is about fulfilling your role in the world in a way that is high quality. We've used the word excellence here. We feel that's really important, and making sure that you're enhancing your customers' well-being, not making their lives more miserable. It's about making that difference. And not every business has a clear effect on society. Some of the examples that we've highlighted, like Social Bite in Edinburgh, and other well-known brands like Body Shop, they have a clear effect on society. But if there isn't something like that from your perspective, it doesn't make it less important, because every business can offer excellence, well-being and benefits regardless of the industry you're in. So for example, if you take an accountancy firm, they're offering service excellence. They can offer excellent service by helping small businesses alleviate financial worries, for example. And also it's about taking those benefits and bringing those to life. It's about the mayonnaise example. Let's keep that one going. It's about providing functional benefits. So tasty mayonnaise, but also emotional benefits, helping create less waste, for example. So there's a whole range of benefits to explore. And then once you've sort of articulated those, it's a case of taking those and looking at that against your competition. Are there differences in your what with your competitors' what? How can you make your business even more distinctive? And how can you make your business really stand out through articulating the what? So we've looked at the who, we've looked at the what, and now it's the how. And the how really does describe the values or the personality that you bring with your business. And often we describe that as the magic you bring to your customers, and the way you deliver those products and those services. So say, let's go back to the accounting example. You could deliver a very trustworthy service, delivering accuracy, solid advice, which could be very thorough. Or you could be a bit more of an entrepreneurial accountancy firm and providing a little bit of extra advice. For example, my accountants in Edinburgh, they send me little tidbits every so often, or invite me to events, which is a great way of reaching out and connecting and giving me sort of that extra value. So it's looking at how you deliver your what effectively. And we've got a long list here. You can see big values list. And what we would suggest is, if you're starting to look at your how, is taking that long list and creating a short list of maybe 5 or 6 words or word clusters. And that helps describe how you show up and how you can set yourself apart from the competition. It's the personality, it's the warmth that you add. And we always remember that people remember how you make them feel often. It's not so much what you do, but often people come away from any interaction with a business and think, how did I feel? Did I feel valued by that organization? Did I feel like an important customer? So the how is all about bringing that to life. And then we'll move on to the why, which often when we associate with purpose, it's about, why are you in business? Why do you exist? What do you do over and above making money? What's your motivation for being in business, or is it your passion? And we suggest a short, pithy sentence here to say, we exist in order to, what's your contribution to the world, so that we can make some sort of impact. And if you look at the Hellman's example that we've been discussing today, it could be around, we exist to provide tasty mayonnaise so that people don't throw away as much food. So the why is an important part of this, but not the important part, the most important part. And what we like to do is pull all of this together in what we call a sort of 30-second pitch, almost, to describe what your service is, what you do, how you do it, and why you exist, into one sentence, to highlight your business in that context. And what I'll do is just give you a quick example here of our business, business that Simon and I run, which is called Today the Arena. And effectively, we have created our version of this. We're Today the Arena. We provide consultancy services with integrity and compassion to business leaders who care about the future. And we do this because we're really passionate about creating the sort of businesses that our children will be proud of. And that's how we bring purpose to life in our organization. So this is just to give you a little flavor of a sort of way of creating your purpose statement. So I hope that is familiar, or it makes sense at least. And what I'm going to do now is shift the focus so that Simon can lead the next conversation, but just really kick us off in thinking, well, that's all well and good. We've talked about purpose. We've been very positive about it. It feels like from the earlier discussion, people are in tune with the concepts, and there's some great ideas of what your businesses are looking to do and be more purposeful. But there could be the flip side to this. And what we're keen to do here is just for people to sort of think about, what sort of problems do you think purpose-driven businesses might come up against? What might some of the challenges be if we're starting to talk about purpose and really start to bring that to life in our organizations? And as we say here, what would your inner cynic say if we're being really cynical about this topic? Just be great to get some thoughts from the group, either in the chat or come off mute and share your thinking.
But Pam, I was interested that your purpose was almost half of that purpose statement, and which is familiar. But what I'm wondering is, whenever you talk about your business, would purpose be the bulk of what you're saying about your business, or would you actually leave out the purpose bit in some conversations with some clients who may be more resistant to a more purposeful approach?
That's a great question. I think it depends on the situation. I mean, because we are focused on purpose as one of our topics in terms of when we're doing our consulting, it's very difficult for us not to talk about purpose because we're trying to almost practice what we're preaching. But it depends on whether you go in on first contact and start to talk about purpose, or actually lay the foundations as we've started to do in this masterclass around the context. So almost build up the case rather than maybe going straight in headlong and assuming that everyone is enamored with purpose, is giving a bit more of a sort of case for change. It depends on the circumstances, Benjamin. Does that help?
Yeah, yes, it does. And I mean, when I'm talking to potential customers, I don't necessarily talk a huge amount about sustainability in my first meeting. I say, yes, of course, you want to grow by 10 billion%. And then sort of on the second meeting, I will sort of suggest that actually their strategy is completely wrong and they do need me to help them with a new direction.
Great, good. Any other thoughts about what sort of challenges we may come up with if we're talking about purpose-driven businesses?
I'm just going to jump in there just after what Benjamin said rang true with me, because I don't lead with purpose. Depending on the product, we do two things: B Corp accreditation support and net zero plans. For some people, it's not. For the net zero plans, it might not be purpose that we'll lead with, because they just need to decarbonize their business, and all they do is they make widgets, and they're clear they make widgets. They know why they make widgets, but they might not be making widgets to solve a problem. They might be doing it to enhance someone's experience of life or whatever. So we don't tend to lead with that. But what I find, much like you, Benjamin, is that it comes up anyway later on down the conversation when you start getting into, you know, real strategic change, and we can almost use that conversation to help us work out how hard they're going to find the change as well, because if it is lacking in purpose, then we tend to find the change is harder. There's a real culture shift required there. I don't know if that helps, but that's our experience.
Any other thoughts from anyone else, or anything that anyone's put in chat?
Yeah, I was just going to add on to what both Benjamin and Jane have said, is that I think that's why the little model that Pam walked through there is, and obviously different people have different views, is that that's why the what is really important. You know, the what you're selling, the value that you're giving and delivering excellence in that product, whether it's consultancy services or, you know, travel advice or whatever it is that has to deliver value in its own right. But I do think that if that is grounded in something that has a benefit to society rather than just a benefit to that individual, then I think it gives it much more credence, and more people are likely to support you in your mission to deliver that service, rather than just, you know, you delivering that service because you want to make more money. So, but I think that's why that what bit is important. It really just focuses on what you're doing and grounds it a bit more as well. You know, I think we'll come on to this in terms of there's some perceived airy fairiness of purpose, you know, in certain businesses. But have you got any thoughts, Catherine?
I was interested, as I say, it kind of aligns almost as well to your vision and mission, doesn't it? And I think that's, for me, some of the problems is when you're explaining all this to people, is not overcomplicating something. Does that make sense? You know, your vision statement is your purpose statement, isn't it?
I think it is, as it can be, as long as your vision isn't to be the biggest widget manufacturer in Edinburgh. You know, see what I mean? Yes. So,
and I think that I think in some of it, that's why it starts getting very complicated, isn't it? It's actually trying and articulating it into a way that is digestible and understandable. Is it's, for me, sort of what we do. But as I say, in terms of a lot of it, for me, it aligns with our vision and our, you know, our mission statement.
Yeah. And you're right. You don't want these things just to be another piece of paper on the wall that's, you know, adding more complexity. It's the, you know, whatever framework works for you is important. But I guess that the model that we've just walked through there just helps build a picture which is a bit more grounded in the problem that you're solving, as in, you know, for society or your customer or whatever, and the impact you're having, rather than what can happen with things, your particular like vision, mission. What is this is all about us. You know, it's us as a business. We do this. We get benefit from this. We want to be X, Y, and Z. And I think it just helps balance that. But your mission and vision statements could reflect that sort of outward impact, service-driven approach. So, but it's a good point. The simplicity is a very good point.
Great, thank you. So next, I'm going to hand back to you, Simon. But that was really interesting just to hear different perspectives.
Sorry, back on. I was on mute.
That's okay.
Yeah. So the final bit was really, I guess, leading on from some of the things. We didn't actually get into this, but I think one of the issues that we come across, and I mentioned about sort of airy-fairy purpose statements, is this notion of avoiding purpose washing. So I think a number, I was going to say a lot, but a number of businesses and a number of big businesses have jumped on this bandwagon of we are now a purpose-led business. So a lot of, as I said earlier, that there's a real opportunity. All the evidence suggests that the businesses that put purpose at the heart of their business are aware of the impact and do good things with their business, use business as a force for good, actually end up being better businesses anyway. And all the evidence from like B corporations, for example, the growth, the profitable growth, the engagement, the customer loyalty, all those metrics move in the right direction, and a good business actually ends up doing well as a result. So a lot of big businesses have told us that, we're purpose driven now, hopefully, hoping to get some of that sort of halo effect. But actually, once you dig underneath what they're doing, it's nothing more than a purpose statement. So avoiding that is a big thing to be aware of. And so to do that, we've come up with a little checklist of 4 things that could help avoid purpose washing. Now, the first one is actually the purpose statement. So as Pam said, businesses don't need to have a purpose statement, and they don't need to have a vision, mission, values thing. They can go along their business and be very good at what they do and be very purposeful and all these things without a purpose statement. But our experience is it really helps if you do have one, and it helps on a number of levels. The first one is just the sense of focus and clarity. Not only do you going through a process where you write down your purpose statements, whichever model you use, but doing it with a group of people, with the leaders, involving employees, consulting with other stakeholders, crafting something that really captures what the business is all about, helps clarify and focus the business's intention. That is what we're trying to achieve. These are the people we're trying to serve. This is the problem we're trying to solve, and this is how we're trying to solve it. And that gives real clarity to the people within the business, but also the people outside the business. So your supply chain can help you go, this is what we're trying to achieve. Can you help us achieve this by being innovative with your inputs, or with the workforce? This is what we're trying to achieve. Can you help us? Is this something that could get behind and motivate yourselves? And consumers, can get consumers involved as well. So it helps solidify our thoughts, gives a sense of direction, clarity, and focus. Once we've got that, though, it's not, what we can't do is just then leave that on the wall or leave it on our website. We have to then act purposefully. And so that's all about putting that direction into action and making it happen. And a big part of this is actually proving that you're doing what you're doing. So as Pam mentioned earlier, one of the courses that we run as part of the Business for Good program is called the Impact Journey training program. And a lot of the emphasis is helping businesses not only be aware of the impact they want to make, i.e. the difference they want to make, the problem they're trying to solve, be aware of it, measure it, and report it, so you're being consistent and accountable to that. So acting purposefully is all about being aware of your impact, measuring your impact, and reporting on it. So in that way, it just adds authenticity and accountability and credibility to what you're doing. It avoids that purpose statement living up there on the website and not being brought into reality. So that acting purposefully is very important. The third thing on the checklist is the shared sense of purpose. And this is about bringing people along the journey with you. Because as I said before, if your purpose is to make lots of money, you're not really going to engender a lot of support from others in helping you deliver that. But if your purpose is to solve a problem that people care about, then you're more likely to get a lot of people trying to help you. And so if you've got your purpose statement, you can clearly articulate what you're trying to do. You can demonstrate how you're making roads in that, then sharing that and enabling people to join you in that mission really does generate a shared sense of purpose. And in some ways, a lot of the value that we see in businesses that are really doing well is what they've been able to do is engender and cultivate a shared sense of purpose. That's the magic that really brings people along. People feel motivated, they feel compelled. It's not about having a mission statement. We are on a mission. We feel empowered. We know our mission to do something, and that's where I think we find that the companies really do end up flying and do well. They're all behind that, and that's a shared sense of purpose. And the final one actually was something you said, Benjamin, is maybe a little bit more spiritual, which is just more about the individual, or us as individuals, so to say. So the purpose statement, the acting purposefully, generating a shared sense of purpose, all around the organization. But I think the challenges that we face as a society, the challenges we face as a business, the challenges we face as a business trying to earn money and do the right thing and be purposeful and be aware of impact, it's not easy. It's it's not the simplest of tasks, especially in the climate you said, Catherine, earlier, with this, the war and rising energy prices and this, that, and the other. So it does take quite a lot of inner strength to do that, to remain on track, to be being purposeful. And it is a bit more of a mindset, or even a heart set. It's about developing our empathy, our courage, our determination, our patience, our compassion, all these sorts of inner characteristics. And I think there's a real role to be played in not only investing in ourselves, for personal development, to explore how we show up in the world and bring to life some of these characteristics, but also how we encourage our employees to show up in the world in that way, to be more empathetic, to be more compassionate, to be more of service, to be more aware of what's going on around us. And it's really, actually, I'm at a conference tomorrow about the launch of a thing called the IDGs, the Inner Development Goals. So you may well have heard of the UN's SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, which are a series of things that we're trying to achieve as in the world, to alleviate poverty, reduce waste, to responsible employment, all these sorts of things, 17 areas. But actually, we're not making good progress against these goals. We've got 10 years to go, and progress is, I'd say poor, actually. We've got the goals, but we're not making headway in them. And a group of people around the world, a lot of business schools and leading academics and what have you, have said, well, the problem is that we know what we should be doing, but we don't have the heart to deliver on it as individuals, as society. So they've developed these inner development goals as a toolkit, an open source toolkit to help people develop the skills and capabilities that will enable us as individuals and collectively to deliver against the sustainable development goals. So I think that's a really interesting element to be aware of. So so 4 things though: be clear about your purpose statement, act purposefully and sort of measure and report your impact against your purpose, share your purpose with others and generate a shared sense of purpose, and just show up in the world in a more purposeful manner and be more purposeful. So those are the 4 things on the checklist. And that brings us to the end of this particular masterclass. So as I said, thank you very much for showing up today and bearing with the technical hitches. Sorry that I don't know what went on there, but anyway, we got there in the end. And what I would encourage you to do is think about for yourself, what's next for you. If you're interested in exploring a more purpose-driven approach to your business, what might be of use. We've got other masterclasses that are coming up. We've got one about great places to work in May, and we've got a net zero one in June. We'll be looking at the inner development goals after the summer, as well as growth approaches impact-based growth for businesses after the summer as well. You could enroll onto one of the courses. We've got an online course or the impact journey course that Pam mentioned. So Pam, Jane and myself are delivering the impact journey training in probably end of August, early September, which will be a small cohort of businesses going through the whole impact journey. So looking at the situation we're in at the moment, how can businesses be used as a force for good, looking at the impact we want to make, going through the purpose in more detail, our theory of change, measuring impact, reporting impact, and creating an impact report for our businesses. So quite an intensive 6-week course, but you could join that. You could contact one of us for one-to-one clinics. And we're looking to do an event actually on the 29th of June. So Wednesday, the 29th of June, trying to get a group of people together. I'll follow up with an email just with some of these dates and opportunities. But it'd be great if you could come to one of those events or sign up to one of these courses and carry on your journey. And so that brings us to the end. I'm going to